Now, the ultimate nightmare for any fighter pilot has just become a harrowing reality on the ground in Iran. A high-stakes rescue mission is currently penetrating hostile airspace.
In April 2026, America lost an F-15E Strike Eagle over Iran. First American fighter downed by enemy fire in decades. U.S. investigators found Chinese technology at the scene. A Chinese shoulder-fired missile. A Chinese radar built to see stealth aircraft. Chinese satellites that guided Iranian strikes on American bases. China never pulled a trigger. Never fired at America directly. Never admitted anything, but the jet went down. And that was just China helping someone else fight. Now China has launched something for itself. The PL-16, 300 kilometers. Variable thrust, built for one purpose, not to fight the F-35, to kill everything the F-35 needs to survive. America's F-35 is not just a fighter, it is the most lethal aircraft ever built. 20 kills for every one loss. Stealth that makes it invisible to most radar systems on Earth. $1.7 trillion, more than the entire GDP of Saudi Arabia. China cannot buy it, cannot copy it, cannot match it. So China stopped trying and asked a completely different question. Not how do we beat the F-35, but what does the F-35 need to survive? Three things: an AWACS to find the enemy, a tanker to stay airborne, a command network to coordinate. Take away any one, and the most expensive weapons program in human history becomes a very expensive aircraft flying blind with nowhere to go. China already proved it could bring down an American jet without firing a single shot. The PL-16 is what comes after that proof. If you want to understand what is actually happening before it hits the headlines, subscribe right now. Now let us get into it. The system America built and the crack China found. To understand why the PL-16 changes everything you need to forget the fighter jet, and think about the system behind it. Air power is not about one aircraft. It is about a system. And every system has a weak point. The F-35 is the sword. But every sword needs a hand to hold it. The AWACS is that hand. A modified Boeing 707 packed with radar so powerful it can track hundreds of aircraft simultaneously across hundreds of kilometers. The F-35 pilot does not find the enemy. The AWACS finds the enemy and tells the pilot exactly where to look. Without AWACS, the F-35 is a sword swinging in the dark. The aerial tanker is the legs. An F-35 has a combat range of roughly 1,100 kilometers. The Pacific Ocean is 12,000 kilometers wide. Without tankers, American fighters cannot reach their targets, cannot stay on station, cannot get home. And the command network is the brain, connecting every aircraft, every ship, every ground station into one coordinated operation. Lose the brain and every piece of hardware fights alone. America built this system over 50 years, spent trillions refining it, and it worked. Against every adversary America has faced since the Cold War, the system was never seriously challenged, because no one had a missile that could reach the hand, the legs, and the brain simultaneously. Until now. China studied this system for decades, not to copy it, to find the one question nobody in Washington had fully answered. What happens when the support layer is no longer safe? And if the hand, the legs, and the brain are no longer safe, what exactly is the sword worth? The hidden story PL-16 was not built to win a dogfight. The PL-16 stops looking like a longer missile the moment you understand what it was actually built to do. And once you understand it, it starts looking like a strategic doctrine wrapped in propellant. Every missile before the PL-16 was built around the same idea. Find the enemy fighter, outrun it, kill it. The PL-16 was built around a completely different idea. Do not chase the fighter. Chase what the fighter cannot live without. The AWACS aircraft flies a predictable pattern: high altitude, slow speed, non-maneuvering. It cannot dodge. It cannot outrun. It was never designed to. because for 30 years no missile could reach it. 300 kilometers changed that. The aerial tanker is even more vulnerable. Enormous, slow-flying, a fixed racetrack pattern so fighters can find it. A tanker pilot has never trained to evade a missile because no missile could get close enough to require it. Until now. And the variable thrust propulsion is what makes this particularly hard to defend against. Traditional missiles burn all their fuel at launch. By the time they reach 200 kilometers, they are coasting, running low on energy. A pilot who sees it coming can pull hard, and the missile runs out of maneuverability, trying to follow. The PL-16 manages its thrust dynamically throughout the flight. Think of it like a runner who saves energy for the final stretch. The missile arrives at 300 kilometers still carrying terminal energy, still maneuvering. The defensive move that works against every other missile does not work against this one. It is worth pausing here to really feel the weight of that. China did not build a better missile. China built a missile that defeats the strategy pilots use to survive missiles. That is a qualitatively different problem. The numbers and what they mean for every American pilot in the Pacific. 6 decades. 6 missiles, one trajectory that should keep every American airplaner awake at night. PL-1 60 kilometers, PL-12 70 to 100 kilometers, PL-15 180 kilometers, confirmed in live combat simulations. Against real targets, not theoretical, actual, the PL-16 300 kilometers. That is not incremental progress. That is a doubling of effective engagement range in 1 generation. Now picture what 300 kilometers actually means for an American pilot. An F-35 is flying a combat mission over the Taiwan Strait. 150 kilometers behind him, his AWACS. 200 kilometers behind him, his tanker. Both operating in zones that have been considered safe for 30 years. A Chinese J-20 carrying a PL-16 does not need to get close to the F-35. Does not need to enter the combat zone. Does not need to risk a dogfight with the most lethal fighter ever built. It launches from a safe distance. 300 kilometers. The missile flies past the F-35, past the combat zone, and finds the AWACS. The F-35 pilot wins every engagement, and still loses the war. Because without a WACS, he cannot find the next wave of Chinese fighters. Without the tanker, he cannot stay airborne long enough to fight them. America's AIM-260, its next-generation response, is in development, not deployed, not operational. Still being tested. China's PL-15 is already on J-20s flying today. The PL-16 is coming before America's countermeasure is ready. China is deploying. America is still procuring. That gap is the most dangerous number in this entire story, what America is actually doing, and why the timeline is the problem. America is not sitting still. The AIM-260 is coming. Directed energy lasers are being tested on naval vessels. Pacific basing is expanding across Japan, Philippines, Guam, Australia, real responses. Serious responses. All of them measured in years, not months. Years, China's PL-15 is operational today. The PL-16 is reported to be further along than most Western analysts expected. The gap between when China deploys and when America's countermeasures are ready at scale, that gap is not closing fast enough. And there is a second problem that a better missile alone cannot solve. The PL-16's two-way data link allows an entire formation of Chinese fighters to guide one missile simultaneously. One fighter launches. 3 others track the target from different angles, all feeding real-time data to the missile throughout its flight. The F-35 pilot cannot simply defeat the radar of the launching fighter. He has to defeat the radar of every fighter in the formation simultaneously. That is a networked guidance problem, not a missile problem. And networked guidance problems require networked solutions that are significantly more complex than building a missile with longer range. America won every air war it fought for 50 years because its system was better than anyone else's system. China is not trying to build a better system. China is trying to break the connections that make America's system work. And right now, the timeline favors the one doing the breaking. What comes next, and what China is already building after the PL-16. The PL-16 is not confirmed. Say that clearly. The People's Liberation Army Air Force has not acknowledged it. No independently verified testing data exists. The specifications come from Chinese defense presentations and analyst interpretations. That matters and should not be ignored. What is confirmed is the trajectory. PL-15 real. Deployed, operational, already used through Iranian hands to bring down an American aircraft in April 2026. The logical next step in that trajectory is a missile that does not need Iranian hands. That is the PL-16. And China is already working on what comes after the PL-16. The variable thrust propulsion technology being developed for air-to-air missiles is the same engineering knowledge base behind hypersonic glide vehicles, a category where China currently leads America by most independent assessments. The missile program and the hypersonic program are not separate. They are the same engineers, the same laboratories, the same compounding knowledge. In April 2026, China proved it could defeat American air power quietly, through a proxy, with deniability. The PL-16 removes the need for the proxy. The next generation removes the need for deniability. America's air dominance was built over 50 years of uncontested technological leadership. It is being challenged not by a country that built a better version of what America built, but by a country that studied what America built, found the three connections it cannot function without, and engineered a weapon to sever all three simultaneously. The race everyone is watching is the fighter jet race. The race that actually decides who controls the sky is happening in missile propulsion laboratories. And right now, that race is not close. If this video gave you a genuinely new way of looking at air power in the Pacific, not the fighter jet race everyone is watching, but the missile race that decides who controls the sky, hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss what we cover next. Turn on notifications, because these stories move fast and you do not want to be the last to know. Now here is the question I want you to think about and answer in the comments. In April 2026, China brought down an American jet without firing a single shot directly. Now it is building the missile that does not need a proxy. Do you think America can close the gap before the PL-16 becomes operational, or has China already changed the rules of air combat permanently? Drop your answer below. I read every single comment, and I genuinely want to know what you think.